Sairam students, welcome to another class of English literature. Before I actually begin with the poem, I hope students, all of you have downloaded your English textbook from the CBSE website, and also a book and a pen is kept ready to jot down the important points. So in this literature class students, we will begin with a poem, and the name of the poem is A Dust of Snow. Just carefully look at this picture students, because when I read the poem, you'll be able to relate to it. Okay, so this poem is written by Robert Lee Frost. He was born in the year 1874 on March 26th, and he was an American poet. His work got published in England first and then in America. He passed away in the year 1963 on January 29th. He was 89 years old then. And this photograph that I have for you all is Robert Frost celebrating his 85th birthday. There's one more picture students, and if you look at it carefully, it is a US stamp of 10 cents which also has his photograph on it. So let's begin with the poem now students. Before that, what's the central idea? Let us see. A simple act of snow falling on the poet changes his mood and saves a great part of the day that he had ruined in that pensive mood. The feeling of loss and that of helplessness is replaced by the feeling of cheerfulness and hope. The dust of snow falling from the insignificant tree by the crow had a great impact on the poet. So here if you see, Robert Frost presents nature in a very different way students. He has taken two symbols. We have a crow and we have a tree. In such a beautiful way, he has tried explaining to us that even small things in life make deep and big impact. So to understand this students, let's begin with the poem now. A Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Okay, so now let's take the first stanza. This photograph that I have for you all is of a hemlock tree. It's a coniferous tree as we can see. And hemlock is supposed to be a poisonous tree with white flowers. So let me explain the first stanza to you all. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Now students, when I read the poem, one thing you must have got, that the poet was not in a good mood. Okay? And he was walking past a hemlock tree. Now, why he was not in a good mood, that's not mentioned here. It's only said that the other part of the day was saved, which means he was not in a good mood. Second thing is, they say that the crow shook down on me. On which body part the snow has fallen, that also is not conveyed here. Okay, so the poet tries to say that he was just walking past the hemlock tree, and what happened? The dust of snow fell from there. And who was the reason behind it? It was the crow. Again, the action of crow is not clear. Whether the crow was adjusting itself on the branch, whether it was shivering because of cold, whether it was about to take a flight from the branch, or whether it had just landed. Again, that is not clear, students. It is just mentioned that the crow shook down on me. There was some movement by the crow, because of which what happened was snowflakes fell on the poet's body. And from where did it fall? From the hemlock tree. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Now, has given my heart a change of mood. Now, what has given a change? It's the snowflakes falling on the body of the poet has changed his mood. Like I told you before also, students, it's a very small thing that has happened. Okay, snowflakes falling on the poet's body. But it has changed his mood completely. Okay, and saved some part of a day I had rued. Now he's trying to say that all this while he was upset. Okay, and with the falling of the snowflakes on his body, his mood is better now. There's a lift in his mood. So that has saved some part of a day I had rued. Rued is held in regret. Okay, he feels that, okay, the other part of the day which I could have spoiled, okay, it's saved now. Why? Because of the snowflakes falling on my body. Students, now let us try to understand the hidden meaning in this poem. When I speak about crow, the first thing that comes to our mind is bad omen. Yes, crows are a symbol of bad omen. It represents death. And maybe this superstition comes from the fact that crows, they eat dead animals. And also a group of crows is called as a murder. Now when I speak about the hemlock tree, like I told you before also, what's a hemlock tree? It's a poisonous tree with white flowers. So both these objects, the crow and the hemlock tree, both are linked to fear and death. Now if you see, students, the poet could have used any other tree for that matter, or any other bird as well. But why has he used a hemlock tree and a crow? There's a reason behind it. If you see, students, Robert Frost has used this unconventional bird and tree. Why? To show a contrast that even negative things can bring happiness in one's life. Like I told you before also, students, when we speak about crow, the first thing that comes to our mind is bad omen. And when we speak about the hemlock tree, again, it's a poisonous one. So, the poet over here has used these two negative references, and he tries to say that even inauspicious things can bring happiness and joy. Now, Robert Frost also tries to throw light upon the healing power of nature, the unimaginable healing power of nature. Whether it's a bad mood or it's ill health, there's nothing that nature cannot heal. And this is what we understand from the poem. Yes, the poet's mood was bad, but the falling of snowflakes has completely changed his mood. A very small thing that has happened, but has resulted into something really very big. So, even small things can bring happiness in our lives. Let's not wait for something big to happen. Learn to find happiness in small things around you. And yes, he has also linked negative aspects of nature, like we have the crow and the hemlock tree. And he tries to say that even these things which are linked to negativity can be a bringer of change, can be a bringer of happiness. So, students, I suppose you've understood the poem. Let's proceed further with the literary device of this poem. Now, let us study about the rhyme scheme of the poem. Look at the first stanza. Now, how do we identify the rhyme scheme? Rhyme scheme is identified on the basis of the rhyming words. And how do we come to know about the rhyming words? Yes, let's see. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Now, the words crow and the word snow, they sound similar. Crow, snow. So, these two words will have A. And when I speak about me and tree, they sound similar towards the end. So, we'll give them the alphabet B. So, the rhyme scheme of the first stanza is A, B, A, B. Clear, students? A, B, A, B. Now let's move on to the second stanza. It's a continuous poem. If you see carefully, there are no punctuation marks used anywhere. Clear? It's a continuous form. Let us take the second stanza. Look at the words heart and part. They sound similar, so we'll give them the alphabet C. Look at the next two words. We have mood and rude. Let's give them the alphabet D. So the rhyme scheme over here is C, D, C, D. Like I told you before also, there is a continuous flow of the poem. There are no punctuation marks used anywhere. So the rhyme scheme of the entire poem is A, B, A, B. And of the next stanza is C, D, C, D. Now moving on to another literary device, we have the figures of speech. We have the first figures of speech as inversion. Now what's an inversion? When the words are not placed in correct prose order. And why that way? To have a better poetic effect. Now we can have the first stanza also as an inversion. Before that, let's read what an inversion is. When the structure of a sentence is changed by the poet to create rhyme, this poetic license is called inversion. Okay, we can read the poem as the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, the way a crow shook down on me. That way also the poem can be read. Another literary device, let us see. We have a figures of speech, that is assonance. Now what an assonance is, let me explain that to you. The prominence of a vowel sound throughout a line is called as assonance. Now when the sound of a vowel, what are vowels? A, E, I, O, U. When the sound of these vowels, any one of the vowel gets repeated in the same line, Okay, the sound can be either at the beginning of the word, in the middle, or at the end. So when the sound of a vowel gets repeated, it is called as an assonance. Look at this line. Shook down on me. Shook down on me. The vowel. The vowel O over here. The vowel O in the word down and on as well. The sound of O is getting repeated. So this figures of speech is an assonance. Look at the example sentence over here. Clap your hands and stamp your feet. In this sentence, the sound of A is getting repeated. A gets repeated in clap, hands, and stamp. These 4 words, the sound of A is getting repeated. That's the reason it is called as assonance. Now, initially itself I told you that there are no punctuation marks used in the poem. Yes, there is one at the end, and that's a full stop. So there is a continuous flow in the poem. So such poems, it is called as enjambment. Let us read what an enjambment is. When the same sentence continues to the next line without the use of any punctuation marks, it is called as enjambment. Okay, if you see the entire poem beginning from here, okay, there are no punctuation marks used over here as well. But yes, there is one used over here after rude. So, it's an enjambment. I've already discussed the rhyme scheme of the second stanza, that is CD, CD. Now the figures of speech for the same stanza, we have alliteration. What's an alliteration? When the sound of the same letter gets repeated. Okay, for example, has given my heart. If you see here carefully, has, H here, heart, H here. The sound of H is getting repeated, correct? Now, if you see this carefully, students, where is the word H placed? Both at the beginning, right? In alliteration, the sound is at the beginning. The sound that gets repeated is at the beginning. Look at the second sentence. Has saved some part and saved. Sound of S over here. Again the sound of S over here. Correct? So in alliteration, the sound of the first alphabet gets repeated. Okay, that makes it an alliteration. Moving ahead, there's another figures of speech, but before I proceed further, again this stanza is an enjambment again. Why? Because there are no punctuation marks used other than the one that is used at the end. Now the fresh figures of speech that we have, that is consonants. Assonance is repetition of vowels. Consonance is repetition of consonant sounds. Now, repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning, middle, or end of at least 2 words in a line of poetry. Look at the example, students. The lumpy bumpy road. So the sound of MP and the sound of MPY, it's getting repeated. Correct? Again, the second sentence. The string was strong. So NG over here and NG over here. Some mammals are clammy. So the sound of M is getting repeated. So when there is repetition of consonant sound either at the beginning or middle or in the last, at the last of any two words in the same sentence, it is called as consonants. Let me just give you the difference between assonance, consonants and alliteration. Please don't confuse yourselves. Let us see what an assonance is. Okay. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. So, the sound of the vowel A and I, if you see, can you see? It's highlighted over here in all the words. So, the sound of A and I is getting repeated. So, that makes it an assonance. Again, what's a consonance? In consonants, the sound of the consonant words are repeated. If you see carefully, students, these words, the repetition of SH in the words shush, wish, cushion and quash. Look at the placement of the word S and H. In the first word shush, it is at the beginning and the end both. Wish is towards the end. Cushion is in the middle. And again quash, it is at the end. So when the sound of consonant gets repeated, it is called as consonants. Let's look at alliteration. What an alliteration is. Now when the use of same beginning sound, consonant sound in a line, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So what is getting repeated here? It's the alphabet P. That's the sound of alphabet P that gets repeated here. So I hope, students, that consonants, assonance and alliteration is clear to all of you. Let's proceed further. Come to the value points of the poem. I have told you before also, students, what value points are. They are the important points in the poem. Basically, they also give you the summary of the poem, what the poem is all about. And definitely, if you go through these value points, it will help you to prepare for your answers. So these are few value points that I have noted down over here. Few more this way. Yes. So these are your value points. Please note them down. Along with this video link, you must have got one more link. Click on that link. Some set of questions waiting for you. Answer them and don't forget to submit them. Till then, you will revise the poem and take care of yourselves. Sai Ram, students. Bye-bye.